So it's 3:30, 3:45-ish, and it's time to do closing procedures. At the sign-in desk where you come in and sign in your name to indicate that you've worked your shift, there is also a bulletin board, and on that bulletin board is a closing procedure sheet that tells you step by step what needs to be done. But I'm going to take you through these steps from memory because I've done the closing so many times. As a student monitor, people who do not work the circ desk, meaning if you're working a number 2, 3, or a 4 job, you can easily pick up this sheet of paper and go through the list of things that have to be done. So the first thing that normally gets done is you walk through the library, pick up stray magazines, newspapers. You're going to shelve whatever you can. The newspapers from this table, the ones on the table are the 24s. They simply get put at the circulation desk in the pile of newspapers underneath the desk in a box there for recycling. The other two, the Vancouver Sun and the Province, and I see that the Province isn't there, the Vancouver Sun would be taken off of this shelving rack and placed on the shelves. We usually keep a week's worth of newspapers, a pile for the Vancouver Suns and a pile for the Province. During your cleanup, you're most likely going to find those newspapers somewhere else. You're going to make sure that the chairs are all neatly placed. This one here obviously got moved by somebody, but it should be in the area. I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the camera, but you get the idea. We're putting the chairs back to where they need to be, walking through the library and pushing in chairs and making sure everything looks neat and tidy. There's a messy area back there where a stool is on top of the table. It should be coming down on the floor. And I noticed that one of the brown chairs here has been relocated. So in cleanup mode, you're just putting back everything that has been misplaced back to where it has to be. So that brown chair we just saw should actually be in this empty space right here. And this table should actually be right next to the doors. Now during your cleanup, after you're pushing in chairs, these back doors, it's really important that you check that they do not open on you. So do not push on the gray bar because that will open up the doors. What you're going to do is press on the door itself, and if it opens, all you have to do is pull the doors towards you. These should be open during the day, so at the end of the day, just take a moment and pull down the blinds. Not too much, otherwise it'll get jammed, but the blinds should be turned down. So at the other end of the library, we're walking through making sure there aren't any books on the floor. If there are, you're going to collect them and bring them back to the circ desk, put them on the cart to be shelved. You're going to double check these study carrels to make sure there aren't any books or anything left behind. Some people leave paper and unfortunately food wrappers. Hopefully that's not the case because we want people to leave the place better than they found it. But if you do find garbage in here, please take a moment to clean up. Hopefully nobody has written in on the study carrels, but if they have, take a moment. At the circ desk there is a squirt bottle and some paper towels. Just clean up the mess and hope that it doesn't happen again. At this time when you're walking through, if there were students in the library, you could also remind them we're closing in 5-10 minutes. Please take a moment to collect your things. If you need to print something, do it. If you need to check out books, go back to the circ desk to do that. But in general, the closing procedures, you're making sure everything's tidy. So again, doors, pull towards you to make sure that they're locked, and then make sure that the blinds are closed at the end of each day. Okay? And as you're walking through the library, we're also responsible at closing procedures to make sure that the doors are locked. So you've checked those 2 back exit emergency doors. It's also your responsibility to make sure that these doors that go into the cafeteria are locked. So again, if you press up against them, they should not move. If they do, you ask Ms. Bombino for the keys, and the number 38 key will lock this door. In this corner here we have the workroom. If it's already locked, you're just going to double check that the doorknob doesn't open up. But if you're cleaning up in this back workroom, remember you're responsible for making sure the equipment's there, making sure that the laminator's closed off or turned off, and making sure that the light is turned off, and then you can just shut the doors. Before you close this door, make sure you've asked Ms. Bombino to make sure she doesn't need anything from the back room. Taking a moment, you're also going to be responsible for tidying up the reading area here. Make sure there aren't any things on the floor or on the table. You're going to recycle every paper that you find, bring supplies back. The computer stations will be automatically shut down one by one. The circulation station is for Ms. Bombino, but the webcam station you see here is for you to turn off. So if you wiggle the mouse, you'll see that there's something in process, or maybe not. But if you look down below and there are no green lights on, it means it's turned itself off. But again, you're going to take a moment, shut down the program that's on there. Like this one right here is still turned on. So if you wiggle, you have to do a full Control-Alt-Delete and then shut down to make sure it goes to sleep. So you're going to do that to all the stations. If there are students at the stations, you can ask them, when you finish, can you please turn off the machine properly? In addition to those machines, you have the printer. Again, the computer is next to the printer, need to be turned off one by one. And this printer, there is a little switch on the side. If you press the button, it'll turn the machine off. In addition to that, there is the photocopier machine. And the on-off button is on the right-hand side. The computer lab normally has lights on. Again, you'll need to talk to Ms. Bombino to get the key. What you're working with is a skeleton key that looks like a little prong. In order to turn off the lights, you're going to put it in at an angle and push it down. This one here takes a little finesse, but if you ask Ms. Bombino, she'll show you and you'll become a pro at it. So again, the lights get turned off in this room. Mr. Hayes is right now in his office, so we will not turn out lights for him. But when it comes time, again, there's a little switch, and if he's left his lights on, you need that little skeleton key. Again, I'll show it to you. And again, you'd be going at an angle so that it's from the top down and you press. The last door that you make sure is locked up is the main door. Okay? Right now they're shut because I've done that to make sure nobody's disturbing us while we film. But on the normal way of remembering it is, it's a number 38 key. If you have the door open, the best thing to remember is that you put the key in and you turn it to the left because you've left the library. But again, don't shut it on yourself because you'll end up getting locked out of the library. So the last thing to do is make sure that there's nothing in the paper cutter on this table, tidy up. There is a light for the showcase display. Take a moment and turn that off. Okay, so the number 2, 3, and 4 person who do not work the circ desk are responsible for closing. Once all that is finished, you head back to the desk and see if the person working the circ desk needs help. The person at the circulation desk is responsible for taking this coin box, closing it all up, and bringing the coin box to Ms. Bombino's office. If you leave it by the computer, teacher librarian will know that it's time to put that away or to deposit it in the office. The second thing you need to do from the circ desk, if you're working the circulation desk, there's also usually a tray of mice here. That tray of mice should have been tidied up by the person doing the number 1 job. And then that tray of mice goes back into the teacher librarian's office. And you'll notice that I have stored them on the second shelf right underneath where the phone is located. So again, that's where the box gets put. Once you've done all the closing procedures, if you've been working with the sheet that reminds you the checklist, make sure that you bring the checklist back to the desk and hang it up for the next team next day. And if you've completed all of your tasks, it's time to say that you're leaving. To help Ms. Bombino out, make sure all the students have left the library. And if that's the case, you can come over to this light switch panel and you can turn off the center lights and the reference lights. Do not turn off the office fiction and the fiction area ones because Ms. Bombino is probably going to stay 5-10 minutes later to do some work. So you leave this set on but turn the other 2 off, and then you can say to Ms. Bombino, everything's locked up, sign out, say goodbye, and then we'll see you again the next time you come in. So the closing procedures are a little onerous, but again, the people who do the number 2, 3, or 4 job are responsible for closing up everything in the library. And the person at the circulation desk is responsible for making sure that the coin box, the mouse tray, have been returned to the office, that it's neat and tidy, and that all the checkouts and check-ins have been done. So that is the closing procedures. If you have any questions, please ask the teacher librarian.